Is this death by 1,000 cuts?
I think it's, Apple had such a run-up, as you know, and it went to the trillion-dollar status and everything else. So I'm not so surprised that there's some pullback, especially when it's not clear what products are next. And how well this is going to sell. This is this latest product. For example, did you buy the latest iPhone? I didn't. I kept the current one I had. And so I think it's a question of them having exciting new products moving forward. And in that interim period, there's going to be a sell-off given how much it's run up. Overall, in general, in tech, we're sort of in a fallow period right now, it feels like, and that there's a lot of negatives and not so many positives to look forward to, and so I'm not surprised.
Now, Kara, that being the case, I keep going back to SAP taking out Qualtrics the week of its IPO for something near 20 times revenue. I mean, that's not fallow if you're Sequoia or one of these investors in Qualtrics, and there are some other companies that have been snapped up too, as you've got this increasing cloud war where these companies are trying to get more data to get better access to customers. So how fallow is the period?
Separate. Well, it's separate. These are startups that these bigger companies need to grow. I mean, that's the question is, where does growth come from? Where does innovation come from? Where's the next wave of innovation? I think you wouldn't argue with me that we're in a period of not so much innovation. And the question is, what's the next platform? What's the next growth, like giant growth spurt? Mobile has been going on a long time now. And I think it's probably everybody's sort of searching for what's next, such as cloud and other areas. And I think you're going to see a lot of buying up of things in order for these companies these large companies to maintain their growth. So it's great for startups, especially quality startups. That's not the same thing as what's going on with Apple.
Kara, is that sort of the bull case, I guess, longer term for these bigger tech companies? I realize they got to potentially keep buying stuff to keep maintaining their growth, but they continue to get bigger and bigger, and I would imagine it makes it harder and harder for smaller companies to break in and be competitive.
I've always said that. I think that, as I said, like if you look at some of these companies, they're sort of, I call them like semi-trailers running down the highway where nobody could get by. And the only way to get by is to get bought. And so I think you're going to see a lot more purchasing. It's sort of, remember Cisco kind of did this for the longest time, just kept buying and growing and buying and growing. And you have to wonder where the big growth opportunities for Apple are going forward. And they're not very acquisitive, so it would be interesting if they started buying on any kind of scale, which they haven't done. I can't remember the last thing it was, but it wasn't as big as, I mean, it's big, but it's not I don't even remember what the last Apple purchase was, but it was small. It was relatively small.
But Kara, does it mean that the long-term structural stories that we've talked about on air for a couple of years now, AR, VR, mobility, that the tipping point for those trends is further out than we thought?
I don't know. Have you rushed to buy a VR set yet? I just don't think the applications are there yet, right? They're trying to break through with voice. Voice has been a big thing, and yet we just did a great story on Recode today saying it's just still not there. There's still not that must-have product in that area. And the same thing with AR, VR. The cars are not quite there. It's still a product that not the mainstream buys, but sort of early adopters or are wealthy people, essentially. And so the question is, where's the next wave? And again, mobile has carried us very, very far. It's 10 years now, I think, in mobile. When did the iPhone come out?
Do you think it makes valuations of private firms like Uber and sort of, I mean, even Waymo, the way analysts try to frame it, as overextended?
I think it's just early. It's just, I think it's a net, you have to think directionally and you have to think now, right? So directionally, we're all going to be in self-driving cars. It's just maybe after you and I are long dead, but everyone's going to be in a self-driving car. So that's the direction you want to go. And I think the question is, what's directionally important? I think what's more exciting is what's going on with companies like Amazon or Uber even, because even though there's questions around its valuation in that $120 billion figure, directionally, it's the correct way, right? If you think about it, or Airbnb or things like that. I think of things directionally versus short-term. I'm not a short-term Wall Street player, so I would fail as a stockbroker.